Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars, welcome to another PlayStation review. Today's review is for Endzone, A World Apart. Now this was released fairly recently on the PlayStation, and it is a post-apocalyptic survival city builder, I suppose. Now, I play a lot of city builders on this channel. They can be amongst my favourite games. They can be quite relaxing. They're not overly demanding and can be quite a lot of fun to play. And this one really is kind of fits into all those categories. It's a post-apocalyptic one, as I've mentioned. Now, I did review fairly recently on the channel Surviving the Aftermath, which is another post-apocalyptic survival game. City Builder as well. They are both very, very similar games. I have to be honest. I would actually find it hard to separate them in regards to how they both play. They are very, very similar in many, many ways. And those of you out there who play City Builders, this game will be easy to pick up and learn how to play. I play a lot of these, and I actually found this game to be really quite accessible. Now, you get essentially 3 modes with this. Now, unfortunately, there's no multiplayer, which is a little bit of a disappointment, I suppose, if that's certainly what you like to do with games like this and play multiplayer. You don't really have that option. But the modes that you do have is, firstly, there is a tutorial. Now, the tutorial in actual fact is a really extensive tutorial. I put well over 5 hours into the tutorial. And then stopped playing it and went on to another mode. So I don't actually know how long the tutorial goes on for, but I suspect it goes on for a significantly longer amount of time. And it's fully voice acted, and it is actually a really, really good tutorial. It's a mode of its own, really. It really did help me understand the game, and they gave me the foundations and the basics to kind of have the confidence to go off and build on my own without the game not necessarily holding my hand. So the tutorial mode, I would very, very highly recommend if you're going to play this game. It was really, really good, I think. After the tutorial, there is a survival mode, which really is the main mode of the game. And with the survival mode, you can configure the game to your liking. It's one of those where you can choose what kind of game you want to play, whether you want it easy, whether you want it hard, how big a map do you want it to be, how extensive do you want the weather to be, do you want it to be really challenging and all that kind of stuff, or do you want to make it really, really easy and just have a chill out sesh? It's up to you, and that's what the survival mode's all about, which is the mode I've been spending the majority of my time with. And then you've got scenarios, and there are 13 scenarios for you to choose from, such as building like a city from the ground up, scenarios where you're going to be constantly hit with terrible weather, a scenario where you've got to kind of try and survive in a really desert area sort of thing, so there's droughts all the time and very little water sources, all that kind of stuff. And there's another scenario where you'll be constantly attacked by raiders, all this kind of stuff. So that's only like 4 modes there. There's like 13 different scenarios for you to choose from. So if that's your sort of thing, they will certainly keep you busy for a while. So what do you do when you go into this game then? Well, like I say, if you play City Builders, it will feel very familiar in regards to the controls. You click left 2, it brings up a menu, and essentially you've got like a build menu on the top. And the one at the bottom is where you assign jobs to your settlers or citizens within your grounds. So your build menu, you've got different sections like water, food, resources, housing, community, logistics, technology, power, decorations, defense, and tasks. And each of those headings have like subheadings in the build menu. For example, in the water section, there's different things that you can build in regards to gathering water, like a jetty over some water, a well, a water tower, a cistern, all that sort of thing. And then you've got to assign tasks to each of those areas. So people in your camp, you'll have to give them jobs around the water thing. And then you've got food, so then you've got things like farms, you've got fishing, you've got hunting lodges, all that kind of stuff. Resources and housing speaks for itself. You know, you've got shelters or cabins and all that kind of stuff you can build. Technology, power. So you'll get to a point where you'll get to a point in the game where you can kind of start powering up your camp with solar power and beyond, all that kind of stuff. Decorations, you're going to want to decorate certain areas because otherwise your population will get unhappy and sad. So you've got to kind of get the morale up by adding decorations, but also adding things that's going to keep them happy, like a pub and things like that. So the in each of those sections, there's other things for you to build. You've got your medical centres, you've got your scrapyards, you've got recyclers, you've got fishing huts, as I've mentioned, and then you've got like the research centre, where you will slowly build up like knowledge within the research centre, and then you can allocate that knowledge to new things to research. So there's certain things that are accessible at the beginning of the game, quite basic things to add to your camp, and then there are things you're going to have to research further into the game to improve and expand and upgrade your camp stroke city, to expand the technologies and all that kind of stuff and grow it. You've got to keep an eye on as well in the city, like the soil moisture and the radiation. So you're going to want to make sure that you've got someone that's taking care of the radiation, or a few people. You're going to have to build like a tailors who will like create like radiation suits and radiation masks for people that are going out and doing jobs and all this kind of stuff, because you don't want people in the camp and the town getting particularly sick on, you know, radiated water and food and all that kind of stuff. And then you've got like weather that can be a problem, which can be things like acid rain, you'll get droughts, sandstorms, all that kind of stuff. So there's a whole array of different weather effects and stuff that can affect and damage your camp and settlement. You've got decrees that you can do, which are basically these are like orders that the camp have to follow. So you might want to cap the birth so that nobody's allowed to kind of have children in the camp anymore. Or there's a whole array of different things. Sometimes they'll get right behind you and support your decrees. Other times they won't be particularly happy, some of them. So it kind of swings and roundabouts. There's usually advantages and disadvantages depending on what you choose. And similarly to surviving the aftermath, you can go on expeditions once you've built that. So you send a number of campmates off on an expedition, and they will kind of raid certain areas for supplies and bring them back to the camp. So you will have different scenarios that you've got to kind of navigate through when you go on expeditions. Now, you don't physically go on an expedition. It's more like you send them out on an expedition, and then it comes up and says, well, we've discovered this, what do you want us to do with it? And then you'll tell them what you want them to do with it, whether you want them to raid it, get supplies, or just come back if you think it's too dangerous, so on and so forth. The controls are really quite easy. Like I say, I've not had any problems with the controller using this on a PlayStation 5. No issues at all. It's fairly simple to play. You've got the usual spinning it round. You can speed it up, slow it down, all that kind of stuff, because it does take a decent amount of time to actually build certain things, especially if you don't have the supplies. So you're going to want to speed it up quite a lot. In regards to weaknesses, then this really depends on if you like these sort of games. If you like these survival, post-apocalyptic, like city builder type games, or if you like city builders in general, then this is a good one to play. It's fairly expensive for what it is, but it's definitely, if you enjoyed Surviving the Aftermath, you will certainly enjoy this one. They are both very, very similar games. I'm not sure I could actually split them in regards to which ones I prefer. So in regards to a weakness, then there's nothing wrong with the game in how it runs. I've not had any crashes or anything like that. The main weakness is we've kind of seen it all before. It's not adding anything majorly special to the genre or anything like that. But if you like building games, with a nice little theme attached to it that gives you some threats, but also allows you to play the game how you want, then this will be certainly something to consider. I'm going to give it a strong 8 out of 10 because I've enjoyed my time with it, and it's a game, to be honest, I will continue to play. So I hope you enjoyed this review. Thank you very much for watching. I'll be back with more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.